Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we're about to get started with Open Mic Live. But first, as always, a word from our sponsors.
At InDigital, we know the public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESINet goes beyond industry standards, not only i3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Carbine, it's multimedia. You can get text, translate to whatever language, getting away with the legacy equipment and going into a cloud-based solution.
It's the first time in U.S. history that we have an ESINet through cloud-native call handling.
As a police officer, to have the victim go video, that's unheard of.
You're getting upgrades every month, not every year.
To schedule your free Carbine demo, please visit carbine.com/WTT.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Dispatch.
There is no one over here to cook our lunch. We are waiting for our lunch, and there's no one here to cook our lunch.
All right, calm down. Where are you at?
The group home. Now, what are you going to do?
We'll get some help over there for you, okay?
Welcome to Open Mic, where we visit the lighter side of dispatch, because laughing is good medicine. What is going on? Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Open Mic Live. It's December 15th. What? This month as well is going by fast, man. There's all kinds of stuff going on. A lot of episodes coming up. We've got a twofer this week. So I'm really excited about that. Recorded another episode for next week just a couple days ago. And I did something today, which was a lot of fun, which I'll share here momentarily. But this live broadcast is sponsored by InDigital as well as Carbine. And a shout out to patrons as always. Thank you for everything. And it's Thursday, so let's check in. Throw something into the comments there. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What is your number? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being shitty and 10 being awesome, how are you feeling? I'm coming in at a 10, man, because of what I'm going to share here with you in a little bit and what I did earlier today. But I'm coming in as a 10, and Sabrina, a 4. Okay. That sucks. I hope that we can get your number up, even one number higher by the end of this broadcast. So welcome. Thank you for being here. And everyone else, please throw your number in there. Karen is a Z, so that's great. Huh? Or is that supposed to be a 2? It's because I'm sick and under the weather. Oh, man. I hope you feel better. I really do. I hope you feel better. And, Karen is tired. She's ready to go to sleep. She's ready to crash out. It's like 7 o'clock where you're at, though, isn't it? Not that that matters. If you're ready to go to sleep, dude. Get some rest. You've been all over the place. And and you shared an amazing story with me earlier today too, so that was great. Cassie is 6-ish. That's good. You know, it's a high number. Let's see if we can get it up there. James is at is that supposed to be a 7.5? Karen, don't judge. No, dude, I'm right there with you. I would go to sleep too if I could. Um, and I probably will right after this. I'm just gonna barrel over and fall asleep. So no judgment. I would crash out too if I had the chance at the moment. Just fall over because I haven't been sleeping the past few weeks. Um, it's all been full of like merch and stuff, man. Like all the stuff that I've been doing, I have not been getting sleep. So if you end up going to sleep earlier, man, have a few hours for me too, because I need it as well. So James says I'm at is this supposed to be a 7.5 or is it a 7 or 5? 7.5. Can't wait for my staycation to start on Monday. Dude, I'm all about a staycation. Staycations are fun. Like just like just chill. When I was in dispatch, a staycation was always fun. I was down with that. Cassie says, you need an assistant. Yes. So for the podcast, I do have, I have Dawn, my new assistant producer. So I'm super happy about that. But yeah, you're right. With everything else, I probably do. James, Chef Vola's for your staycation. For real, dude. If you can get it, if you can get a reservation there, do it. Do it. Really good. So again, please make sure to share this broadcast on your feed or to your favorite dispatch page, and make sure to throw in reactions and stuff. The more reactions and all that good stuff, the more people end up seeing that this broadcast is going on. And I thank you all very much for that. I posted episode 472, and that is that's the open mic portion of the Imagine Listening session that I did at the New Jersey conference. Hilarious stuff. It was a real good session. And then tomorrow will be episode 473. So again, I said I've got a twofer for this week, and then another episode coming next week. And then, of course, one to cap off the entire year, because after that, we're already going to go into 2023. Yeah, dude, already going into 2023. But I want to share the teaser for the episode that's going to air tomorrow, and that was with Chris Nichols, and she's out of Virginia. She's an EMP as well, and she is a communications training officer. Her story was great, and I had a lot of fun talking with her. And it was funny though, because we had a moment in the beginning where we were having some technical difficulties, which made it a lot of fun because she could hear me, but I couldn't hear her, and she called her husband to assist her with it as well. And what's funny is that while she was talking to him, like, she turned and was saying stuff to him, and as she's saying stuff, I'm reading her lips and answering, and she looks, and the both of them were like, is he messing with us? And I'm like, no, I can't hear you. I really can't hear you. I'm just reading your lips. That's it. And I was actually doing a good job. So I want to share the preview here with you really quick. But again, it was an excellent episode. I'm excited for all of you to be able to check it out. So let me switch my screen over here really quick. And I switched my audio setting. All right, so here we go.
Just didn't want to mess up, because I was like, this is my dad's department, and he had been talking me up for years, and everybody would watch me, and I was an adult now, and it was time for me to be an adult. I was like, God, I hope I don't screw this up.
I was gonna say, what was
really
that pressure? What was that pressure like?
Yeah, and then I had a lot of the officers that had known me for years and that had teased me and joked on me and everything, and then now I was like, I was their coworker too, and They had to trust me.
Yes.
And I was like, whew. Like, oh goodness. So I think it really pushed me to do the best I could. And I never had that moment where I felt like I knew people always believed in me and everybody was rooting for me because it was, a small department.
Mhm.
But it was the pressure I think I put on myself, that I really just wanted to make sure that, that I was going to do a good job.
It is an excellent one, and again, I'm excited for all of you to check it out. And gonna have to have her on again for a dispatchers roundtable. So make sure to check that out. That's going to air tomorrow, probably early afternoon. It'll air, and it'll air across all of my social media um, channels. So again, make sure to check it out. Episode 473 with Chris Nichols is going to be going up, and then next week the episode that'll be airing will be with Bryce, who's a dispatcher out of Texas. And that is one that you definitely do not want to miss. That is going to be an excellent one as well. So make sure to look out for the teaser for that. I'll be editing it tomorrow. It'll go out to patrons, and then it'll go out to the rest of the public next week. So again, look out for that one. And let's see, James says, I need the number to that friend you met 46 years ago in AC. Never been. What? Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. So yes, make sure to check that out. I'm just looking over here at my notes and everything. So earlier today, I did something that was a lot of fun, and I was super excited to be able to go. So let me pull this up here. Boom. There we are. So today I went and visited the dispatch center that I used to work for. Allegan County Central Dispatch. So I was in Michigan today, and I went to visit. I was in there for 2.5, 3 hours maybe. And what's funny is that so when I arrived, I as soon as I walked in into the main hallway, like the door opened, everything I started flashbacking. Like everything started coming back, and I opened the door and I walk in and I look down the main hallway and I look back and forth, and all I could think was, damn, I feel like I'm here for an overtime shift. It was funny, but like everything was coming back, and I'm walking slow down the hallway, and dizzy spins like the movie. Yeah, dude. It was everything hit me right away. and walking through and stuff. So when I walked in, they had there were some visitors that they had there that were from like the tech center, there were criminal justice students and stuff. So they were there checking dispatch out. So there's a bunch of students when I walked in, and people are saying, hi, welcome back. And just looking and just standing in the center, I mean, I've been back a few times since I left dispatch, but every time it all rushes back again. And I don't know about any of you who have and Karen, if you're in the audience, maybe you can you can talk on this as well. But when you're gone and then you come back, it's like coming back home, and that's how it felt. It was like coming back home, one, but two, I also felt like I was coming back for an overtime shift. And hearing the phone ring and the radio traffic, I wanted to jump in. Like my hands, my fingers were itching listening to everyone typing. And as Karen says, it is but it took a minute too. Yes, yeah, exactly. And so I hear the keyboard, and I'm like, I want to jump in. I wanted to jump in. I wanted to answer the phone. I wanted to jump on the keyboard. And See, Karen says, "Same, put me in, coach." And then Megan, "You could have stayed and worked." So, and we talked about this while I was there. Megan is a very good friend of mine, and we grew up together, went to school together. She graduated a year before me, and years later, we end up working together in dispatch. And so we're sitting there and we're sharing stories. And in the bottom left corner of the picture that I'm sharing here, not the person who's wearing like I don't know, it looks like a gray shirt or white shirt, something like that. Not her, but to the right of her is Megan. You just can't see her. But we were in there and we're sharing, stories and stuff with some of the newer folks that are there, and it was just a good time. It was awesome to go back and to sit there and to listen to everything as it's going on, and me sitting back listening to her train um the person who's sitting next to her, and in my head just kind of thinking like, so when the radio traffic was coming over, and just for example, someone would key up on the radio and say something to the effect of, 951 Central. And immediately in my head, I'm saying, 951, go ahead. So, and she's teaching her because it was like her second day on the floor, from, all of learning all of the codes, geography, like all of that stuff. And so they're working, that portion of the radio, taking some non-emergency phone calls, and I'm just sitting there and I'm listening and I'm repeating everything, and I hear another person to the right of me who's on phones, and they're going through pre-arrival instructions, so I'm going through the pre-arrival instructions in my head as well. And it was hilarious to me because I remembered everything, and which is more than I thought I would remember. But there were some call signs for deputies, and I would say their name. They're like, "Yeah, that's right." I'm like, "I remembered." So it was a good time. But again, sitting there sharing stories, being there with Megan and Michelle and the rest of the crew that was there, it was a lot of fun. It was cool. And as I was leaving, it started going to shit. Which is why it's funny that Megan says you could have stayed and worked. I wanted to jump in, and now there are enough consoles that I probably could have jumped in and figured it out. I mean, the CAD system is the same CAD system that was there when I was there, and I mean, it looks different. It's been upgraded for sure, but I think I could have figured it out. I think it would have been fine. But yes, like it was. I had said to her, I said, "So I'm gonna be leaving here pretty soon, and I can tell, like around the time that I left, actually it was about the time that I would show up for my shift because I worked 4:30 p to 4:30 a. I was one of the supervisors, and so around that time was when I would get there, and that shift change, people coming home from work, all of that stuff, that's when that shit would get crazy, and I could feel it in my bones already. And I remember looking up at the clock and I was thinking, okay, it's time for me to go. Plus, as long as I have to drive, I need to get here in time to do what I'm doing right now. So I'm getting ready to leave, and the phone is just going off the hook. There's a tone out, and like all of this stuff is going on. I'm like, deuces. And I did find out it did go to hell. So there was a lot of stuff that was going on there as I was leaving. And as soon, the door shut, and the picture there on the bottom, the middle one, is me taking a selfie right in front of Whitney's deputy director office, her door right there. So that's her name right on there. And Whitney, um, I was her supervisor when I was there. She's now the deputy director. She was also the co-host for the podcast in the beginning. We did episode 1 together, and by episode 5 I had brought her on to be the co-host, but then I ended up moving and all this other stuff, and um now she's a guest every so often, but will be my forever co-host because we had a good time. But again, it was awesome to be able to go back to my dispatch center and sit there and chill and just have fun. So Megan, thank you for um chilling with me there, and Whitney and Michelle and everybody for letting me come in and just kind of hang out. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to the next time and coming back and sharing more stories, because I shared a few stories from when Megan and I were growing up together that some of the newer people did not know there, and she's like, dude, like, I'm like, ooh, I'm sorry. So it was funny. I will not say them here. But it was funny though, some of the stuff like from us growing up and everything, and I loved it, and I miss you too. I miss you too, all of you. It was so much fun being there today, but we had a good time during our time together there in dispatch, and I will say this: there are times that I will never forget. There's stuff that we went through together that no one will ever no one can take that from us. We had a kick-ass team, and I, moving on, ended up, when I ended up becoming supervisor, I had a kick-ass team as well, but everything that we all did together, nobody can take that shit from us. And I'm sure a lot of you out there who are watching this as well have those moments with the people that you worked with. There are things that we experience that nobody else ever will. And maybe the same type, but the stuff that was going on, the situations, they're different, and they're ones that we will always have. And Cassie, yes, a bond like no other. Exactly. We have that bond together, and for each other. We were there for each other, and I think that's what I miss the most. So I love you guys, um, and I always will. Whew, man, it's good times. I thank you for all of it. It was awesome. So going on from there, I said that we were going to share like some Christmas stories. We're going to share more Christmas stories next week because it's actually leading into Christmas. But I wanted to share a few stories, and some of these stories, some people have heard, some of you have not. The people who are joining in, it's always different. But one of the things I remember from Christmas, and this is not like I said in the post, the social media post, Christmas stories that either involve dispatch or personal ones. And this one specifically is going to be a personal one. And again, it's one that I have shared before, but I share it all the time around this time because it's something that I'll never forget. Especially growing up, man. It was pretty crazy. So one of the things that I remember growing up for during Christmas time, one Christmas specifically, this was in 94, I believe. My dad's mom, my grandmother was really sick, so he and his siblings ended up going to Texas, and they were there for a long time, man. They were there for months. So it was the first and only Christmas that our whole family, wasn't together because again, my dad was gone, and a lot of crazy shit happened during that time, and we're going to talk about that here. And so, any comments that you have, please throw them here. Throw them in the comments. Um, but So we were all going to my Aunt Mary's house for like a week straight because there was something that we were working on, and we were all going to get together on Christmas and open presents from our grandma and everything, and do this white elephant type gift exchange, and of course have food, music, all the good stuff we were going to be doing. But one of the things that we were doing was we were going to do a play. We were going to do the Christmas story, like the nativity and everything. And my mom and my Aunt Mary, like they were like hardcore about this. Like they had written certain things out. We were practicing this whole thing because we were going to perform this in front of our entire family. And it was enough that they were actually sewing all of the costumes. Like they were putting this all together, like going all out. And let's see, James says my greatest gift ever, GI Joe aircraft carrier, took up my entire bedroom floor. Dude, that's pretty badass. Like that's a rare one as well. I think you can still find that on like eBay, but well done. That is a good present. That's pretty badass. Um so throw that in there. I want to see some more of that in the comments here. What was your greatest gift ever growing up? I would like to see that as I'm telling this story here. So, um, we're going there and we're practicing all of this, right? We're practicing our lines, after the performance that we were going to do, we were going to be also singing Christmas carols for everyone, right? Because who doesn't want to listen to a bunch of kids off key? But if it anything funny, because of course in school programs during Christmas time too, um they have kids up there singing. There's always funny shit going on, right? So anyway, we are going through this and doing all of it, and we're getting prepared, okay? And my Aunt Mary had a sewing machine, right? But my mom was taking her sewing machine as well, so they could both do all the costumes and stuff at the same time and get them done faster. So I'm the one who's carrying this big ass Singer sewing machine, and we take it there, come back home, and it's maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I don't know. It was late. And we get home, and actually let me look at this here really quick before I go further with this because of what happens. But Yasmin here says best gift, Barbie playset kitchen that I helped pick out at Toys R Us, and I broke the fake roasting turkey in the oven a week before Christmas because I kept playing with the set through the plastic and never got a replacement. That's awesome. Cassie here says, as a kid, best gift was a Miss America bike with a banana seat and a red, silver, and blue streamers on the handlebars and stars on the chain guard. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Did you ever like hit some ramps and like get some sweet air? I had a friend who had this bike that had a banana seat, and man, that dude was fearless. I remember we would set up ramps and he would just boom land, and we'd be like, dude, well done. I never hit that ramp because it would have been my luck. I would have broken a leg or something. Let's see, Cassie says no, but my brother did, then crashed it. Sabrina here says my grandpa was the chief of police at the town we lived in, and we would spend Christmas Eve at my grandparents' house. I would sit by the scanner all night as the dispatchers and officers would give Santa updates during the evening. Nice. Awesome. See, telling my age because that was in the 70s, early 80s. But still, that's pretty awesome. That is really cool. And especially hearing those updates going through as well. So And by the way, I love this. So keep putting this stuff in the comments. I will read through them, and I'll share some of my favorite gifts growing up as well. But we end up. Oh, James says broke my bike frame at the neck jumping ramps. Oh, uh, uh, I've seen that happen before, and it's not pretty, especially if you like hit hard landing and it just. It sounds scary too. Um, excuse me. So I remember us coming home again, middle of the night. The outside light wasn't on for whatever reason. I was pretty sure we had left it on, but it wasn't. So when my old house, when you pull into the driveway, which was a gravel driveway, um, there was like a sidewalk, 3 steps, and then a little porch area that you would walk into. I remember we would stand in that area during the wintertime to wait for the bus to get there. And because I mean it was super cold. So we would wait there and then run to the bus. And during this year, on the front door going into the house, not on the outside, but on the inside, we had a long string of like sleigh bells. And it was wrapped on the doorknob. So whenever you would open the door, wherever you were in the house, you would hear it. Open the door and you would hear the ling ling ling, like you would hear the string of bells very loud. Okay. So we walk in and I'm in front of everybody and I'm carrying this big ass Singer sewing machine. And when I go to open the door just opens. Like I barely turned it and it was already opening. And I remember like right now, like I can hear the bells going off in my head. And I remember stopping and turning back and looking at my mom and I said, "Mom, did you leave the door open? Did you leave it unlocked?" And she goes, "No, I didn't." And everyone, like we all started hauling ass. Now my grandmother is she's an older lady, right? So she's not like running or anything, but my mom, I remember she hooked her arm and she made her run. And my younger siblings are hauling ass out and my mom and grandmother in front of me now and I'm holding on to this sewing machine and like I remember I could see like it looked like the frame was broken. Like someone had kicked the door in. And we all hauled ass running, get in the car, take off. And I mean, it's 94, right? So there's no like cell phones, there's pay phones, or, you go to a neighbor's house or you go somewhere else to get the phone. Well, we had hauled ass back to my Aunt Mary's house. And from Fenville to where she was living in the Bravo area, it's not close. Like it's about 15 or so minutes away, right? So we're hauling ass. Oh, and James says, the good old days. Yes, yes, the good old days. No cell phones, no nothing. Payphones or neighbors or whatever to find a different phone, right? So we end up hauling ass to my aunt's house. And again, it was like 15, 20 minutes. And it's also in the dead of winter. So the roads aren't the greatest. And it's all of us freaking out in the car, hauling ass back. Now I say it's 15, 20 minutes because it is, but it felt like we got there in like that because we were hauling ass to get back there. Um, because this had happened. And I remember we got back to my aunt's house, told her what had happened. My mom called the police from there, and they're like, okay, we're going to send somebody out. And this was going to Allegan Central Dispatch, where years later I end up going to work at, right? So we end up going back to the house, but we didn't go to the house. So the house behind ours, my other aunt, my Aunt Cruz, um, was living there. So we waited there. And no, Jack says 94. I was working the squads by then, feeling old. I apologize. I'm sorry. So we end up getting back, right? And we go to my Aunt Cruz's. Again, this is the house right behind our house. It was actually a barn that my dad and my uncles and some friends, they end up converting into a two-story house that we were renting out, and my Aunt Cruz and my cousins and stuff were living there. So we get there and we're in there, and I remember I'm upstairs with my brother Nando and our cousin Russ, and we're playing like Street Fighter on Super Nintendo because that was like his way of keeping us calm, right? We're us playing games and stuff, and my sisters are there and everything. And my mom ends up going to the house with one of the deputies, and they go through the whole thing. So nothing was stolen. Like electronic wise, like we had a lot of electronics and a bunch of other stuff. And there none of that stuff was stolen. What was stolen was clothes. Like a bunch of clothes of ours were stolen, and like they were thrown all over the place. And they check everything else in the house. There was nobody around. They had left. So um we ended up, after that, leaving. That night we got a bunch of clothes and we take off, and we were gone. We were staying with my Aunt Mary for about a week or so, and my Uncle Steve ended up going back to the house with my mom, and they put in some deadbolts and stuff. Well, the first night back, now again, this is all around Christmas time, which is why I'm sharing this. um our first night back, no one wanted to sleep in their own room. No one. So what did we do? We all slept in my grandmother's room, which was the first room when you walk in the house. So you walk in the house and it's the living room. Like you walk into the living room, right? And the first room on the left was my grandma's room. And we all slept in there. Now, so there's that first room on the left, which is right off of the living room. Again, my grandmother's. You keep going, which the direction would be south. On the left, the second like little spot on the left is the bathroom, and then another room, and then to the right is our sliding door. Because on that side we had a deck that was right there as well. Cassie says, "Yes, communal care." Exactly. Yes, that's exactly how that was going to go down for that first night. Because again, we were all freaked out, man. Nobody wanted to sleep in our own rooms because of what had happened. So we're all set up in grandma's room, and we all go to crash out. It took a little while. Like I remember we were all talking and stuff, and my mom is trying to get us to go to sleep. And we finally crash out. Well, in the middle of the night, I wake up and I hear, like, I don't see my mom anywhere in the room, but I hear her voice, and I hear her in the living room, and she's talking to, like, there's a male voice that I have no idea who it is. And it was a deputy. There was a deputy there who was talking with my mom. And when I opened the door, I remember seeing a glimpse of him as he's leaving the house. And my mom is beside herself. Like she is freaked the fuck out. And of course, that kind of makes me freak out a little bit as well, because I don't know what's going on. Why was there an officer that was here and just leaving, right? So everyone is still asleep, and I end up going out there to see, my mom is okay, and I asked her what happened, and she told me. She told me what happened. So in the middle of the night, she ends up hearing something or someone, which turned out to be someone, at the sliding door. So she heard some like motion. She heard some sounds. So she ends up getting up and she goes out into the living room and can see the silhouette of a person right outside the sliding door. And they are trying to pull the sliding door open. Because remember, by this time, all the main doors have deadbolts. The sliding door, I mean, sliding doors aren't the greatest, right? But we had a big old like broom handle that was on the side to block it. Like there was the lock, and then that was there as backup so that the door wouldn't open. So this person, whoever it was trying to break into the house. They were trying to get in through the sliding door. And my mom, she called 911, but I remember she said that she yelled out to the person, "I'm calling the police. Like, you need to leave. You need to go away. Leave us alone, please." And I'm like, holy crap. Like, I can't believe that this happened, like with all of us there. And, all of that was the year that my dad was gone in Texas while we're there. And it's real close to Christmas. It was the craziest thing. Like I talked to my mom about it now, and every so often we talk about it, usually around this time, because this is around the time that it was that happened. And she just says, I was freaked out, but I was gonna, basically she was gonna take on whoever, like Mama Bear was gonna come out because her mom and her kids were there, so she was ready. She was ready to take anybody out who was going to try to get in there. And let's see, Cassie says scary stuff. Yeah, very scary stuff. And James says, who wants to join me in the living room to sleep tonight? Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a scary time. So they never caught the person. We don't know who it was. We're not really sure. But they figure it was someone who, either knew that my dad was gone, or it was just someone who, randomly went to the house to get clothes. Because again, they didn't steal any electronics. We had a lot of electronics in there. Like during this time, it's like Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. We had a TV. I mean, it wasn't an extravagant TV. It was a little TV that we had in our room, my brother and I. So this TV, it was a TV. And for those of you, like some of you will know what I'm talking about, but this TV had, 3 buttons. Well, I wouldn't even consider them buttons, really. And there was only like 4 channels, right? So there was UHF and VHF, and each knob you could turn to different channels, but it also had another knob that 2 turn dials, and yes, yeah, exactly. So it had a dial on it. So if the picture was staticky, you could turn it to take some of the static out. And then, of course, there was the one button that you pop out to turn it on and then to put it back. And this old TV was the TV that my brother and I had in our room to play Nintendo or Super Nintendo or whatever, because it had a coax plug in the back of it. It was an old TV, but new enough that it had that in the back. And that's what we had. So, we had that. We had, these electronics. We had a stereo and stuff, and we weren't, rich by any means. We saved our money a lot to get these things, but none of that was taken. It was just closed. So they never. They didn't really figure it out. There was no damage other than the door that was kicked in, but and even then it was just like one spot, but everything got fixed. But yeah, it was scary as shit to know that somebody was trying to break into the house while we were there. But thank you, Mom. Mama Bear was ready to take anybody out that was going to come after her cubs and her mom. So that's how that shit went down. But I always remember that around this time, because this is around the time that shit happened. So Yasmin says, for real scary, Erica and I are staying in a hotel and I'm making sure everything is locked now. Yeah, dude, especially if you have like a joined room, I always make sure that door is locked, and I look under the beds and in the closets to make sure that nobody is chilling in there waiting for me to go to sleep. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that, Yasmin, but you're already checking, so you're good. You'll be good. Let's see. Jack says, that's when you turn a flashlight on with a knife in your hand. Yeah. My mom had if I remember correctly, she had a shotgun that was ready to go if anybody was trying to actually got in, to protect us. And let's see. Yeah, James and Samantha too. Yes, pegs. Yeah, so that's how that went down. That's what I remember. When I was in dispatch, I remember looking into our in-house database, and I looked up that call, and I remember the deputy that was out there. I never talked to him about it because it was long time ago, so I don't know if he ever remembered it or anything. He's retired now, but I remember looking it up and just sitting there for a moment and just flashbacking like, holy shit, all of this is recorded right here. Jack says, go mom. Yes, exactly, go mom for sure. So one of the other things that I want to talk about here, and I'm going to share this video because it's part of a news story. I don't know how many of you have watched the newest season that was added to Netflix of Unsolved Mysteries, but there's an incident that happened. And I'm just going to go ahead and play this video. This video is courtesy of and comes from their YouTube channel, Wood TV8, which is a local, I believe, NBC affiliate, and it's in Southwest Michigan. So I want to play this here really quick. This will be the last story that I share as we're going into the close of this. And of course, next week, going into Christmas, we'll be sharing some more stories, because there's some more Christmas stories that I want to share, and ones that were in dispatch as well. So let me pull this up here really quick so that you can see this. And I think it's like 6 minutes long, but I promise you it'll be worth it. You'll probably see the title of it and what they're talking about and think, why the fuck is he playing this? I don't understand. But here we go.
Now to tonight's Target 8 investigation. Our investigators are getting a West Michigan take on the federal government's change of heart about UFOs. The government went from denying unexplainable sightings to admitting people are seeing things that nobody can identify, and releasing military video of some of them.
It wasn't like that, though, in 1994, when strange lights lit the sky over the lakeshore. Tonight, our Target 8 investigators are discovering how that sighting changed the lives of the people who watched it, and the government's new attitude, what it means to them.
Here's Target 8 investigator Henry Erb.
Today, 3/8/94. The time, 21:30 hours. It was right there in the sky. This is something we've never seen before.
Unexplained lights over Holland on March 8th, 1994. Strange stuff. Didn't look like a plane or anything else people are used to. Had them calling 911.
Okay, I don't know
you guys do anything on UFOs at all? They were at least 4 lights.
They were like Christmas lights.
Holly Graves' family watched for 20 minutes from their front yard, colored lights slowly rotating.
When all of a sudden my son just started screaming, you know, get out here, you got to see this.
All the way from Ludington.
It was a big sighting. There was a lot of news coverage, and for a while, Holly kept her kids out of school.
And they just went through a really hard time because they know what they saw, but it's like everybody still laughed at you.
People forget that the U in UFO stands for unidentified. That means nobody knows what they are. Still, that's never stopped people from speculating, sometimes choosing up sides, even getting nasty.
They accused us of being in the backyard smoking weed doing drugs with our kids. That was MUFON.
It's been nearly 30 years, but the experience left a mark. Holly says even today her now adult children don't want to talk about it. But listen to her.
I'm glad my family got to see it. I really am. It's like once in a lifetime to see this.
You listen to her nearly 30 years later, and it seems like the experience changed her in some way.
It's an experience that I'll take to my grave with me.
So you're looking at this thing that night, and what were you thinking?
I was thinking I was going to lose my job.
Jack Bushong's job was meteorologist for the National Weather Service at a station in Muskegon. Ottawa County Central Dispatch was getting a lot of UFO reports and reached out to him for radar clarity. He found out later their conversation was recorded.
We're getting a whole bunch of calls with some strange lights.
Then I was really scared, and I lost sleep.
He fretted about what people would think about what he was seeing.
People think you're a kook, you know. You're lying. You're not credible. I'm supposed to be a scientist, skeptical.
I'm looking at it in the vertical now.
On the recording, you can hear Bushong calmly controlling the radar by hand, trying to zero in. When he finally gets the picture.
Well, oh my God, what is this? They were going together and coming apart.
Radar was telling him the objects were forming a wide triangle and moving fast. No recording, so he made these paper tracings of what he was seeing on his screen.
They were moving about 20 miles in each jump. They were hovering and then jumping, hovering and then jumping.
These are huge returns. I've never seen anything like this. Not even when I'm doing storms. You've had storms that are like, they're popping up all over the place.
He says the radar told him he was looking at something solid.
It was a flying tin can, you know. I don't know how else to explain it.
He says some people dismissed what he saw, but despite his worry, the sighting didn't seem to affect his career. He got promoted, moved out of state, won an award for his storm predictions, and eventually retired. But all that time, he clammed up about his experience on the lakeshore.
I kept my mouth shut, and I learned that really quickly.
For decades, the government fostered that kind of fear by dismissing UFO reports, explaining them away as people misidentifying stuff like weather balloons. It kept even credible people quiet. After a flock of sightings in Michigan in the 60s, then Congressman Gerald Ford of Grand Rapids said in this letter, the government was misleading the public and called for congressional hearings and more straightforward talk. That took more than 50 years, and lately there's a big change in government attitude. It's why Bushong is talking about it again.
That has everything to do with it, yeah.
The government is now releasing video of sightings by the military and admitting in this report just released that people really are seeing things that nobody can figure out. Bushong says a lot of the video and descriptions are just like what he saw on radar nearly 30 years ago.
I guess I've been waiting for this vindication, which I didn't think I was going to get all my life, so I was just going to let it die out. But now with the military coming out and basically saying exactly the same thing I saw 30 years ago, I can finally say to people, told you so, you know.
Bushong says he's going to write a scientific paper about his experience in 1994. And nearly 30 years after seeing the same thing from her front yard, Holly Graves has a wish.
I wish everybody'd see it. I do. I wish everybody would see it because it was an experience of a lifetime.
I'm Target 8 investigator Henry Erb.
Okay. So why did I play that? I lived that myself. I was 13 and I saw that shit. I remember that. Now, again, it's 94. Okay. My dad was gone during this time. And I think the reason I feel like it was around Christmas time, even though they said it was in March, is because people were saying that they were Christmas lights. But this was March. So let me tell you. And I would love to find the dispatcher who took some of those calls, or any of those dispatchers who took those calls, and have them on to talk about it, and possibly get that gentleman from the National Weather Service to come on and talk as well. That would be very interesting. But if you have not had the chance, if you have Netflix, go on there, watch the newest season. It might be the first episode of the newest season that they added on, and watch the entire episode, because it is very interesting. Whether you believe in UFOs or not, it's pretty interesting. But to have them to come on to talk about it would be pretty awesome. So again, I'm 13. My mom and my brother and I are sitting in, so when you go into the house, I talked about the whole first part of it, and then it's the kitchen, and then it's to the left is down to the basement, which I have talked about before, the haunted basement. And then, but if you keep going straight, that was our dining room. And then to the left, there was a hallway that went down to 2 other bedrooms, and that was for my brother and I, and then our younger twin sisters. But in the dining room, in the back part of it, there was an area where we had a couch and a TV. And so, we would just chill there and, read or watch a movie or whatever. And then there was a door that went out to our back deck, and then our backyard, and then the house that was there where my Aunt Cruz lived. So we're watching this movie. And I end up looking outside. I don't remember why I looked outside, but I remember looking outside, and I said to my mom, I said, you need to see this. And she goes, what's wrong? And I said, you need to see this. So we paused the movie, and I said, it looks like there's some weird lights out in back. So in back of the house that my aunt was living in was a huge cornfield, and a road, a dirt road that went all the way to the back to these woods, and this dune area that belonged to one of the county, um, one of the businesses that was out there. They owned all that land in the back there, and there were no houses back there at all. But in the wooded area, there were these different colored lights just going all around and in like circle. And just like they were talking, it looked like Christmas lights. So we're standing outside of our the house on the deck, and we're looking right at these lights, and we're like, what the hell is that? Because it looked like a concert was going on. You know how when you're out there, and you're in the audience and you see the lights, the spotlights, and they're just going all over the place. That's how enormous it was, but going in a circular motion, and the colors were like bleeding into each other into different colors and coming in and out. And I remember my mom yelling for my aunt, and I remember saying, she's not going to hear you, but she did. And she comes out on her deck, and she goes, what's wrong? What are you guys doing? And we're like, turn around, look out there. And I remember my cousin Russ comes out from the front door down on the bottom. So she's up here, and he's down here, and he looks out there too. And he's like, what the heck is that? And she goes, oh, it's nothing. It's just a house back there with Christmas lights going. We're like, no, there is no way that those are Christmas lights. Like it's not. So we're staring at this as it's going on, and she's like, I'm gonna go to bed. And she leaves, and I remember my cousin Russ is just looking out there like, what is that? And we're doing the same thing. And Jack says, look in the news archives of Morehead City, North Carolina, for mysterious lights. I will. I definitely will. This stuff is interesting to me. So we see all of this, right? And for years, like I didn't hear about it. And then we see something on Unsolved Mysteries. And then years and years and years later, I'm getting ready to do an episode, and my brother was going to do this episode with me. And I had found this 911 audio from a friend who was compiling all this audio and stuff. I was like, holy crap. I was like, this audio is from Ottawa. I wonder what it is. So I played it and I freaked out. And I went to I'd gone to my brother's house because we were going to record at his apartment. And I said, dude, you've got to listen to this. And he's like, what is it? And I started playing it and he goes, oh, dude, that's what we saw. That is what we saw. So we didn't know, like, all of these people had seen this, that this had happened, that there was a guy from the National Weather Service who called 911 to, I think he called a non-emergency number, actually. But he called Ottawa County, and this county is a county that's north of Allegan. And from where I was working in dispatch, where I was living, but we were listening, and the tapes are pretty long. Like I actually have all that audio. I still have it, and I have it on my hard drive here. And we're listening to it, and we're just like, what? So then, this newest season of Unsolved Mysteries comes out, and they do a whole new episode on the whole thing. They've got all these different accounts of what happened, and I share it because it was in 94, and it was during that time of Christmas when my dad was gone, but also people saying that what they saw were Christmas lights. And it's very possible that it was some sort of UFO. I don't know. Again, whether you believe it or not, it's interesting. But I saw that shit. Like, I see it in my head right now like it was yesterday. It was crazy. James says, did you start to make a mountain with your mashed potatoes? No. No. I remember we were freaked out, though, because we've never seen anything like that before. And it was crazy to see, crazy to experience, but also to finally find out that, like, there were other people who saw this too. And there are 911 tapes all over of people talking about it and calling and seeing this. So I'm going to get a hold of my friends over at Ottawa and see what information they might have. And then who knows, maybe it can get them on an episode along with the person who's retired from the National Weather Service, and just kind of talk about this. Because to me, this is interesting. I think it's pretty cool. And yes, James, a cool experience to finally be able to say that we were part of that. Like, we saw that shit. Oh man, it was crazy. Let's see. Sabrina says, we had an evening shift in my old center. We took UFO reports one night for about 10 minutes. We didn't know what to say to these people. Dude, I don't know what I would have said either. Seriously, like, maybe what I can do is I can play some of that audio next time. And but it's pretty interesting to hear them, talking to people and them saying, I don't know if you guys deal or do anything about UFOs or anything like that, but this or that, and just going from there. Like, we'll work on this. It'll be cool. It'll be awesome. But that's it for this week. Oh, Sabrina says, we had deputies that even said they were seeing the lights. See? How do you explain that shit? Especially when you're talking to the deputies and them calling up and you being like, so did you actually see something out there? And them saying, yes, I did. I'm not messing with you. I did see something out there and I'm freaked out. I know that's what I would do. I would just be like, yep, I did. I'm going home now. Later. Well, thank you all of you for joining me for open mic tonight. This was a lot of fun. I hope that your numbers have gone up, even if they went up one, even if it stayed the same, but you're feeling good. That's good. That is very good, because this shit is hard. It is a hard thing. The job that you do, people don't understand. But the more we talk about it and the more we share, the more people understand. So thank you for everything that you do. We all appreciate it. And I love you all. Thank you for the job that you do. This live broadcast has been sponsored by InDigital as well as Carbine. Shout out to patrons as always. Thank you very, very much. Again, episode 473 is coming out tomorrow. Make sure to check that out. It's going to air live across all of social media. And if you have any comments, questions, you want to be a guest on the show, the flagship show, you can email us, and that's wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches podcast. And if you want to become a patron of the podcast and hook us up and support us, you can check us out. And that is patreon.com/WTT podcast. And I thank you so very much. Also, this can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. And then for the flagship show, you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good night.